Known as the Floating White House, the presidential yacht has influenced American diplomacy for almost a century. But now, its future is uncertain. CBS News correspondent Casey Wood ventured aboard the USS Sequoia. Pooh is always happy, Piglet is small but believes that he's brave, and Eeyore doesn't believe in anything. Maybe that's why, for so many, Winnie and his friends have seemed like imaginary friends out of somebody else's imagination. Kirsten Gillibrand y su rival del Partido Republicano, Wendy Long, se enfrentarán en un debate auspiciado por nuestra estación hermana, New York One News, y transmitido en directo a todo el estado. La NASA dio a conocer las primeras imágenes de la sonda Curiosity cuando aterrizaba en Marte. La Agencia Espacial publicó un video de baja resolución en su página web en el que aparece la cápsula bajando a la superficie del planeta el domingo por la noche. We're over 8,000 miles away in more ways than one. Keep an eye out for relief efforts across the island, which are only just beginning. For Stony Brook News, I'm Arielle Dollinger. Not more than 50 feet from the festival, this is probably the quietest spot in Oyster Bay right now. On its 30th birthday, Long Island's biggest outdoor festival doesn't act a day over 20. For Stony Brook News, I'm Arielle Dollinger. That's right, we are expecting some snow this week, but we'll talk about that later. That's why I'm wearing mittens. A Stony Brook student is facing possible jail time. A manhunt for a killer is still underway. The world's 1.2 billion Catholics officially have a new pope. In an email his wife sent to us, she says the two coached together at Hofstra for 13 years. You know, I was reading in USA Today, the most popular Halloween candy is chocolate. Well, speaking of spirit, I think we've corrected our technical trouble. Let's go back to the J-tent.
Bringing you a special report today on the Content and Communications World Expo.
We're going live to the expo at the Jacob Javits Center in New York City. It's 8,594 miles from campus, a 24-hour plane ride. Over 100,000 people living in New York State call it home. And last week, it was shaken.
They're effectively rebuilding from scratch in many of the coastal areas. And then obviously that part of the world is not going to rebuild as fast as like what we did with Sandy and so forth. I mean, we're still rebuilding a year later.
On November 8th, Typhoon Yolanda, also known as Haiyan, ravaged the Republic of the Philippines. The death toll as of November 16th has climbed to over 3,000, exponentially higher than that of last year's Hurricane Sandy in the United States. Meteorologists say that Yolanda is the strongest storm to have ever made landfall. But the storm has passed now, and relief efforts have begun, both here and overseas. Isa, the owner of an Asian grocery in Ronkonkoma, was approached by Tanglaw, a Filipino-American society of Long Island, about using her store as a donation center. Without hesitation, the Manila native said yes.
These people needs for a long term. This thing is a long term. It's not just for the next month or so.
Isa's grocery is just a 15-minute drive from campus, but the relief effort has begun even closer to our Stony Brook home.
It's heartbreaking to know that it's happening nearby my hometown.
Dexy grew up in the Philippines. Her parents still live there. Now she's a member of PUSO, the Philippine United Student Organization, and PUSO is pioneering the student relief effort on campus.
People are still lost. People are still, they're still looking for their loved ones. They're still hungry. They're still homeless. So I think it's going to be going on for a long time.
We felt a fraction of it after last year's Hurricane Sandy, but we're over 8,000 miles away in more ways than one. Keep an eye out for relief efforts across the island, which are only just beginning. For Stony Brook News, I'm Arielle Dollinger.
Hi, Hawk. Oysters here. Come get your oysters. Sweet, delicious, and nutritious.
Known as the Oyster Lady, Donna Lee does the ordering for the oyster booth.
They're sexy all of a sudden. Everybody loves oysters. When I first started selling oysters, you'd never see a woman online. Now women come up and are buying 7 plates and enjoying them.
Lee has been selling oysters here for 20 years, but she's been attending the festival since its first run in 1983. Now in its 30th year, the Oyster Festival is only looking better with age. And the money made benefits the nonprofit organizations in the community.
I wanted to turn it from a pub crawl, which many people like, into a real family event.
The festival is alcohol-free and family-friendly.
I like seeing the crowds come. I know we've done our job if people are walking down Audrey Avenue and coming in the park.
And the people just keep coming. Artie Stein Jr. was at the first ever Oyster Festival 3 decades ago.
I like the fact that people are donating their time to give back to other people. So that makes it special. And of course, the oysters are delicious.
But if you want an honest opinion, ask somebody under the age of 10. Is it fun? Can you tell me about the slide one more time? I'd love to hear about the slide.
I like that slide because you get to go down, all the way down.
Not more than 50 feet from the festival, this is probably the quietest spot in Oyster Bay right now. On its 30th birthday, Long Island's biggest outdoor festival doesn't act a day over 20. For Stony Brook News, I'm Arielle Dollinger.
Everything is me, and I am what I eat. I must be made of honey. Her life is very sweet.
You know them by name, but not by their real faces. These are Winnie the Pooh and friends. Piglet, Tigger, Eeyore, Kanga, and Pooh himself.
Walt Disney loved the books so much that he made his movies. Kids come in, they don't recognize Winnie. It's really funny. He's had, the Winnie the toy looks different from Winnie from the books and Winnie from how Walt Disney envisioned Winnie in the movies.
A.A. Milne's book was published on October 14, 1926, 87 years ago today. But it all started with his son, Christopher Robin Milne, and his toys.
The New York Public Library has had Winnie the Pooh and his friends since 1987.
A.A. Milne created not just a story, but a persona for each of the toys, just as he and his wife would during playtime with their son.
We've had people who've come and done proposals of marriage in front of Winnie. We've had adults who have broken down, sobbed in front of when they see the toys.
Deb Hoffman says that seeing the toys in person is on her bucket list. The 48-year-old Wisconsin native holds the Guinness World Record for owning the most Winnie the Pooh memorabilia. She recently submitted paperwork claiming that she owns 10,002 unique Winnie the Pooh character items.
I don't know that I could really point to anything that's as simple as wholesome and just nice as Winnie the Pooh. But
Hoffman received her first Pooh from her father when she was 2 years old. But for her, Pooh still hasn't lost his magic.
I still think that there is enough relevancy that people still remember back maybe the simpler times and the sweet times, and they associate Winnie the Pooh with the innocence maybe of a child.
So will kids today remember Winnie in 20 or 30 years?
There's lots of different characters through children's history that have lasted, but Winnie is definitely one of the kings in that area.
And why has Winnie's reign lasted so long?
If you look at each one of the personalities of the characters, they mimic characteristics of people you meet every day.
Pooh is always happy, Piglet is small but believes that he's brave, and Eeyore doesn't believe in anything. Maybe that's why, for so many, Winnie and his friends have seemed like imaginary friends out of somebody else's imagination. For Stony Brook News, I'm Arielle Dollinger.